Well, again, welcome this morning. Good to see everyone here. And we just sang a song that says a lot. It says, He's my everything. And that's the way we should think about it. We should have a mindset that helps us to understand that all things belong to God, including ourselves. We are not our own. Paul tells us that. Though a man lives, he doesn't live unto himself, and when a man dies, he doesn't die unto himself, because God is the Creator, and we do not belong only to ourselves. We belong to Him by right of creation. But the world doesn't think like this. And this is important because it has to do with where we put our priorities in life. The world does not think along these lines. The world thinks and looks at material things and their acquisition and progress through life as prosperity, as doing well in this world, by how much money you have in the bank, what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you live in, how big's your family, and where have you been in life, and all these different things. They're looking at things totally incorrectly. Let's look at a few stories. First of all, turn with me to Luke chapter 12, verse 16. The Bible is replete with examples of how we should think in this life. Here we have the story about the rich man. Now listen carefully. And he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What shall I do? Because I have no room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, This will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there will I bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? You see, the world's priority is like this rich man. What can I do to make things easier for me? How can I take care of what belongs to me? How can I acquire more? We need to understand that everything in this world, regardless of what it is, will fade away. It will go away. You know, we make a living, we call it making a living. We earn a salary or we get paid for work that we do, and isn't it interesting that money seems to disappear sometimes faster than you can acquire it, doesn't it? Because it's a material thing, buying material things. Look at Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 11. Jeremiah 17, verse 11 says, As the partridge sitteth on eggs and hatcheth them not, so he that getteth riches, and not by right, shall leave them in the midst of his days, and at his end it shall be a fool. Don't waste your time trying to get rich. Don't waste your time trying to get more and more and more. There are more important things you need to be focused on that matter far greater than acquisition of property. See, the world forgets. The world gets wrapped up in itself. And it forgets that everything here in this physical realm, that is everything, fades away by use and by time. We know this because God tells us that. Look in Matthew 6:19. Matthew 6:19. It says, Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust nor corruption, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. See, the things that really matter. If you're looking at the physical realm and you're wanting more and more and more here, then your heart's here. God's telling you, you need to put your heart and your mind on things that matter, and things that matter are things that are eternal, where God is the keeper. God takes care of things. You need to prioritize your life in the right way. God tells you to seek God and His righteousness. Seek Him first. All these things shall be added unto you. Look for God first. Put your sights on heaven. Paul talks about that, having his sight set on the heavens. He's talking about running the race. Your goal is at the end. Your vision, your eyes, where you desire to be is at the end of the race, and you're focused on winning the race and getting to the finish line. That's where your mind needs to be. The world doesn't think that way. Not at all. We got another example in the Bible. Turn with me to Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1 is a wonderful example. Isn't it nice how God has made stories and given us examples to help us understand what He's trying to tell us to do? We have a wonderful God, don't we? He's an excellent example, Job is, of how we need to be regarding things here on earth. Satan, you see, Satan thought that he had taken everything from Job. He thought he had Job. We're going to read here in just a moment how he basically mouths off to God about Job. And he thought he had Job, and he took everything away from him. But see, to Job, God was his everything, not the material things that he had. Okay, let's look at chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. In other words, he shunned it. Verse 1 is telling you exactly what kind of a Christian you need to be. You need to fear God. You need to be upright in the world around you, setting the perfect example to the world, and you need to shun evil, or run from it, get away from it. Don't have anything to do with it. There are many who think that they can dabble in it and have one foot in the world and one foot in the church and they're okay. No, that doesn't work that way. Verse 2, and there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she-donkeys and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. In other words, he was far above all the others that lived in that land. Everyone knew how prosperous and blessed Job was. In verse 4, and his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters, and eat and drank with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, now look carefully at verse 5 and pay attention, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. He thought about his family. He thought about his children. He blessed them. He talked to them. He taught them. And he made sacrifices on their behalf. Are we not told to do the same? Are we not told in the New Testament to pray for one another, confess our faults one to another, and pray for each other? Pray for all men? Yes, we are. See, Job was setting a good example, wasn't he? Verse 6. Now we're going to get the devil in on things now. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said to Satan, whence comest thou? And Satan answered and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So is the devil around us? Yes. Does the New Testament tell us he's here? Yes. Does it tell us he's roaming around? Yes, as a roaring lion. And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil? Then Satan, and here's where he mouths off to God. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, The Job fear God for naught. In other words, he respects you because look what you've done for him. What does God tell us he's going to do for us? He's going to bless us and take care of us. He's going to take care of all of our needs. And whatever our hand finds to do, we do it with our might. God blesses our efforts. This is a good example of that. In verse 10, hast not thou made a hedge about him? In other words, a hedge is an area of protection. And about his house, and about all that he hath on every side, thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land. He's doing exactly what God says he's going to do for you. God protects you. God will take care of you. God has promised to never leave us nor forsake us. He didn't leave Job and he didn't forsake Job. Job feared him, respected him, and worshiped him, and God blessed him as a result of that. Verse 11, but put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. But God doesn't tempt men, does he? But God allows men to be tempted. God cannot be tempted, nor does he tempt man. But what he's telling, the devil is telling the Lord is, you do that, and he will be angry, mad at you, and then he will curse you to your face. In other words, be directing his anger towards you. Look at verse 12. And the Lord said unto Satan, behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. Okay, now this is important. God controls Satan. He let Satan loose on Job, didn't he? But he still controlled him. He only let him go so far. And that is what God has promised you in the New Testament. He's promised to bless you. We're going to read some scriptures about that in a moment, but he's also promised you that with every temptation, there's nothing going to be coming towards you that is not common to man, but that with every temptation, he will provide a way of escape. So in other words, Satan is still bound. He's bound today. Bound means he is controlled. Okay? Now look at verse 13. Here we have the devil getting after Job, but look how he does it. And pay attention to this, because this happens today too. Verse 13, and there was a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine with their eldest brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job, and he said, the oxen were plowing, and the donkeys feeding beside them, and the Sabeans fell upon them and took them away. Yea, and they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped to tell thee. Why did he let one escape? To taunt Job. And here we have the Sabeans and later the Chaldeans, men who were under the control of Satan doing evil things. Do we still have men today doing evil? Yes. Do we have Satan manipulating men? Yes. So this is exactly what happens today. Verse 16. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the fire of God is fallen from heaven. This is more likely talking about lightning, like a storm. And hath burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. So we can see that Satan can influence things such as the weather if he wants to. Verse 17, while he was yet speaking, there also came another. Notice that these are one right after another, one catastrophe right after another. It's like being in a boxing match and the superior opponent is just delivering blow after blow after blow. Satan is after Job in every conceivable way that he can. Take and cause Job to curse God. But yeah, while he was speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans made out 3 bands and fell upon the camels, and they carried them away, yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped to tell thee. Again, men being manipulated. Evil men, yes, whose heart was not with God, but easily manipulated by Satan. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, Thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house. And behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness and smote the four corners of the house. This more likely is talking about a tornado. And it fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped to tell thee. All these things, one right after another, happened. And look at what Satan did, where his authority was given. God allowed him to do these things. It demonstrates to you, we are told in the New Testament to be wary, try the spirits whether they be of God. It talks about those working with the power of Satan in Thessalonians. It tells you that Satan can appear even as an angel of light to deceive you. It helps you to understand more how you need to be on guard. When God says to be alert, be vigilant, on the alert, watching out for your soul and the souls of your brother, it is a needful thing. Because you never know where that temptation or in what form that temptation is going to come. You've got to be ready. Notice then at verse 20, look what happens. Then Job arose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. His reaction was not to get angry, not to start cursing God. Don't we hear that in the world? The first bad thing that happens, they wonder, why did God let this happen? Why did God do this? Or what? All kinds of things are done and said that way to blame God for evil. God doesn't do evil. God doesn't tempt man. He has one that does that, though, and that is who? Satan. Why does the world want to accuse God and not point the finger at the true culprit, Satan himself? He bowed down and worshipped God and said, Naked came I from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. In other words, I came into this world with nothing, and I'm going to leave it with nothing. What I have here now is a blessing from God, and I will recognize it as such. The Lord gave. He knows where the blessings come from. All of our blessings come from God. All good and perfect gifts come from above. We're told that in Romans, aren't we? And the Lord hath taken away. God has allowed it to be removed. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all of this, Job sinned not, nor charged God foolishly. Notice it says charged God foolishly. God is not the one that did it. We need to realize this and think about this. God is our everything. We have life, we have breath, we have existence, we have everything in the world around us continually because God allows it. Just because something evil comes into your life and disrupts it in some way, some fashion, doesn't mean it's God that did it. Most certainly not. It is the devil doing the evil in this world. And he's the one that started it in the first place, and he's the one that continues to do it. We need to learn to recognize it. As you will see here in just a moment, we need to learn to look beyond it. In chapter 2, we're not going to read all of chapter 2, but look at the beginning of chapter 2. It says, And there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them to present himself before the Lord. And we have a repeat of what we saw in chapter 1. And the Lord said unto Satan, From whence comest thou? And then Satan answered, From going to and fro on the earth and walking upon it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, and there is none like him in the earth? So on and so forth. And Satan answered and said, Skin for skin. Yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. In other words, you've protected him. You're still protecting him. You were protecting him before, and that's why he didn't go ahead and cave in and curse you. Let me touch him. You protected him. Let me touch him. That's what Satan is saying. Put forth thine hand now and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto him, Behold, he is in thine hand. Again, God doesn't do evil things. He's allowed Satan to. And touch his bone, thine hand, but save his life. In other words, you can do what you want, but don't kill him. And of course, the story goes on through it. He had the boils and all the things that happened to him. Satan even tries to manipulate him through his wife and to curse God and his friends and all. You know the whole story. Satan attacked him from every angle conceivable. But Job never gave in. You see, when your priorities are right, when you're thinking the way God wants you to think, and material things don't matter. Paul had a thorn in the flesh, and Paul asked God to remove it. And God wouldn't do it. And he said, my grace is sufficient. Why did he not do that? To make Paul realize his humanity. To make Paul aware of the blessings that are around him. Paul is an excellent example. Look at Paul. Turn to Philippians 4, verse 11. Even though he had a thorn in the flesh, even though Job lost everything, even became ill himself and suffered painful boils, these are things that swell up in there on the balls of his feet. He couldn't walk, he couldn't crawl, he couldn't lay comfortably. This is a terrible, terrible, painful situation to find yourself in. He never turned away from God. Look in Philippians 4:11. Not that I speak in respect of one, for I have learned. See, he has learned. That's why God left that thorn in his flesh. I have learned in whatsoever state I am in therewith to be content. Whatever condition I'm in, I need to learn to be content. We need to learn the very same thing. So many are looking so longingly at the world and the value of the things that are in the world, that when something bad happens, they mourn that object that they have lost. They love it so much, they desire to have it so much that they turn their attention from God. Paul's telling us, don't do that. Whatever condition you're in, be content. Look at verse 12. I know both how to be abased, that is to be lowly and without anything, and how to abound everywhere and in all things. I am instructed, being told. Who told him? God did. God's telling you the same thing. Both to be full and to be hungry. Both to abound and to suffer need. And notice what it says in verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Christ is our provider. God has promised to never leave us nor forsake us. Though I might be in trouble, I might have a need, God knows I have that need, and God's not going to forsake me. And in God's time, I will have the things that I need. Job knew that God did not mistreat him, because God is good. He admits, if you recall, we read it a while ago, God giveth and God taketh away. God doesn't physically take it away, but God allows it to be removed. But who gave it? God did. And if it has been removed in your life for whatever reason, there is a reason and a valid one, or it would not have been removed. Learn to look beyond the physical. Learn to look for the spiritual. You have your life. You have your blessing. You have your sight, your breath. You're able to get up. You're able to walk around. You probably have a house far better than what your parents probably had, and you've grown one that you grew up in. All these things, look for the good. There is always good. Don't let Satan fool you. Don't let Satan lie to you and say, oh, woe is me. Oh, how terrible this is. There is always something to thank God for. Even though Job was laying there having suffered the loss of his children that he loved, his wealth, his fame, all the things that he had, his servants, and laying there near death, he still found reason to acknowledge God and to respect Him and honor Him and to thank Him. We need to learn what it is to suffer. God always provides. He will never leave you wanting anything that you need. Look in 2 Peter 1 verse 3. 2 Peter 1 verse 3. According as His divine power hath given unto us all things that pertain to life. God's not going to let you perish. How do you know that your situation that God has allowed you to be in isn't one that's necessary for reaching someone who's lost? How do you know something as simple as having a flat tire on a highway somewhere wasn't that purpose to allow you to meet someone who needed to know about the Lord? I myself have seen myself in situations like this where things have happened, and I found out later as I look back that, well, if that hadn't happened, well, I wouldn't have met so-and-so, and I wouldn't have been able to teach them this or teach them that. You never know through God's providence what He allows Satan to do. Even God's providence allowed Christ to be crucified for a very good reason, but it wasn't obvious at the time, was it? Don't look at the bad. Never look at the bad. And no matter where you are, what situation you are in, you look for God's reason for you to be there. Look for, why am I here? What can I do for the Lord? Who needs me here? God's going to take care of me. I'm not worried about it. Who needs me? What can I do for the Lord? Notice what else it says. Unto life and godliness through the knowledge of Him that hath called us to glory and virtue. Look in Philippians 4:19 now. Philippians 4:19 also says, but my God shall supply all your need according to His riches in glory by Christ Jesus. God's going to take care of you. Even Abraham understood this when he went all the way to the top of that mountain, whichever mountain that was that God finally had him to go up on and build the altar. And Isaac said, where's the lamb? Where's the offering? And what did Abraham say? God will provide. Oh, so easy it is to get wrapped up in the world and all the calamity and hatred and evil and things that are happening in the world, and to get this, oh, woe is me, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? What's going to happen next? Don't let the devil wrap you up like that. There's nothing happening that God doesn't know is going on. And there's nothing going to happen that will eventually not turn out to be good for you. Romans 8, chapter 8. All things work for good for them that love the Lord. Don't let the devil deceive you. Don't let him make you turn from the Lord and look to the world for your answer. Look at Matthew chapter 6 and verse 8. Be not you therefore like unto them, for your Father knoweth what things you have need of before you ask Him. How many of us are going to prayer? Don't you think Job went to prayer? Don't you think Job prayed about things? Don't you think that Paul prayed when he was stoned and left for dead? Don't you think Peter prayed when he was in jail? Don't you think all the apostles in all the circumstances they found themselves in prayed? You bet they did. When you get into a situation where you feel that you have a tremendous loss, or you're about to lose something, or something dangerous or bad is fixing to happen, what do? Do you react and start whining and crying and griping and complaining, or do you get on your knees and pray about the situation and ask God to intervene? Ask God to help you. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. It might be something, like I mentioned a while ago, something necessary to allow you, through His providence, to come into contact with someone who needs you. You never know. Looking at Matthew chapter 6, verse 32. For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knoweth that you have need of all these things. See, even in Matthew, the Lord was teaching us something important. The world seeks after the material. The world seeks after the things that it thinks that it needs. Beloved, all we need is God. And God will provide everything we physically need. But keep in mind, where's our goal supposed to be? Where's our mind supposed to be? On heavenly things. We're to be laying up treasure in heaven. We're not to even fear what man can do to the body. And the Bible clearly says that. Fear not what man can do to the body. Well, after he's killed you or taken your life, he has nothing else he can do. That's the last thing he can possibly do. And what does Paul say? To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. They cannot do anything else. Don't worry about things. God is in control. And God has clearly told us that no one and no thing can remove you from the love of the Lord, nor can anyone or anything pry you from His hands. God loves you. Let's start thinking and realizing, like that song said, He is my everything. He is indeed your everything. Job understood it. Paul understood it. We need to understand it. If you're here this morning and you need to put your Lord on in baptism to become a child of God, or you need the prayers of the church, whatever needs you have, we're here for you. God certainly loves you. Whatever we can do for you, once you come, while together we stand and invite you in song.